My wife, who always claims to be blind, is unbelievably passionate in bed. There isn't the slightest trace of clumsiness or hesitation you'd expect from a blind person. Yet every single day I have to bathe him, feed him by hand. I thought it was just my imagination. Until today. I caught him, standing alone in the secret room on the 3rd floor. The walls were plastered, completely covered, with stolen photographs of me from childhood all the way to now. He was holding a tissue, gently caressing the newest artistic portrait of me. I sucked in a cold breath of terror. At that exact moment, he turned his head sharply. Those eyes that were never blind at all, pinned me in place like nails. The corner of his mouth curved into an icy smile. Where do you think you're running to? The night before little Cutie's engagement party, I received a message from Evan Lin. Seeing that text, I silently cursed him for choosing this exact moment to come back. 4 years studying abroad. Those were the most carefree years of my life. Yet here he was, fine as ever, just landed yesterday. And today he's already blocking my way. I couldn't help sneaking a glance through the window, seeing him standing there with that elegant posture, leaning gracefully against his Rolls Royce. As if he sensed my gaze, he suddenly lifted his head and looked straight at my room. I shrank back behind the wall in fright. I tried typing a reply. Wrote, "I've caught a cold," deleted it, changed it to, "I have a stomachache and diarrhea," then deleted everything. This man, Evan Lin, is not someone who listens to reason. Once he decides something, there's nothing he won't do. Moreover, he's vicious. His eyes look like they want to devour people alive. Just seeing him makes my heart pound with fear. He inherited his beauty from his mother. His mother is a publicly acknowledged great beauty. All the elders praise his peach blossom eyes that seem to smile, but I know, in those eyes, there has never been anything but bone-chilling frost. I truly don't understand why he has to single me out to bully. That night, a wave of self-destructive surrender surged up. We're both adults now, no longer children. Why should I still let him bully me like this? I grabbed my phone, about to type a refusal. I'm not going. I'm about to be a married man. Going out with you wouldn't be proper. After typing, it didn't feel strong enough, so I added 4 more words. Men and women should keep their distance. But staring at the send button, I hesitated again. To rebel against someone who has oppressed me since childhood, that kind of courage is truly hard to muster. If I'd had the guts to stand up to him earlier, I wouldn't be this anxious now. Just as I was tangled in my thoughts, Mom's voice and knocking sounded together from outside. "Little Bai, Evan has been waiting downstairs forever. Why are you still dawdling?" My heart was filled with irritation. I didn't want to open the door, nor did I want to answer, full of bottled up grievances. If my parents weren't so irresponsible, how could Evan Lin have had a hold over me from childhood to adulthood? I ignored the noise outside, hit send on the message, then pulled the blanket over my head, thinking whatever happens, happens. I refused to believe that now, we're grown-ups, he'd still dare hit me for disobeying. No one gets to control me anymore. Besides, I'm about to get married. Once the wedding is over, the 50 million yuan grandpa left me as marriage settlement money will be mine. Then I'll be completely financially independent, no longer needing to care about anyone's mood, whether it's Evan Lin or my parents. I won't give a damn about any of them. I'll block them all. Let them regret it on their own. This thought made me feel a burst of wicked satisfaction. But the more I thought, tears of self-pity welled up uncontrollably. I was reaching for a tissue to wipe my eyes, when the blanket over me was suddenly yanked away. I glared up with a belly full of rage, only to find Evan Lin, sitting right beside my bed, frowning down at me. The fire inside me instantly died. "How did you get in?" Instinctively I scooted backward, trying to put distance between us. But my wrist was immediately seized. "John Bai, since when are you deaf? How many times do I have to call before you come out?" I struggled hard, but couldn't break free. So I shouted angrily, "I'm not going." His voice was cold as ice. "Dare you say that again? I won't go even if you make me say it 100 times. Finally I'd scraped together this tiny bit of courage. "I'm getting married soon. I'm an adult now. You can't bully me like when we were kids." Instead, he laughed, narrowing his eyes as he studied me. "Not bad. Got some spine now, huh?" With that, he reached out and pinched my chin, pretending he was about to kiss me. I stared wide-eyed, panic written all over my face. See? This is exactly how despicable he is. When we were little it was the same. If he wanted to go somewhere, he absolutely had to drag me along. If I refused, he'd threaten me with this move. Now, He was pulling the same old trick, leaning close and whispering, "The Wang family cares most about reputation. If they found out that before marriage you already had something with me, guess what would happen? That inheritance from Grandpa. You think you'd still get it?" I had no choice but to turn my head away and mutter in compromise, "I'll go with you, right now." Only then did he release me, acting as if nothing had happened, casually surveying my bedroom. When we went downstairs, my parents and little sister were chatting happily in the living room. The moment Mom saw us, she beamed at Evan. "Aya, only you have such a good relationship with little Bai. He holes up at home all day, saying nothing. Only you can drag him out to play." They always assumed that, or rather, they hoped we got along well. In recent years after Grandpa passed, my family's status has declined. Dad's position has been stuck at that awkward middle level. To get promoted, he has to rely on solid connections, marrying into the Wang family. Both sides benefit, while the Lin family has always been several levels above ours. So in the past, whenever Evan came looking for me, my parents would nag endlessly, telling me to obey him in everything, to flatter him, to keep the relationship good. Otherwise they'd send me back to the countryside. Evan gave a few perfunctory polite replies, then led me out the door. Before leaving, I heard my little sister whining about wanting to go to Europe. Dad said no, so she acted spoiled and demanded he go with her. Anyway, they never invite me on their trips, and even if they did, I wouldn't want to go. I refuse to be the green leaf that makes others shine. Once in the car, I had no idea what Evan was planning. He didn't say a word, so naturally, I kept my mouth shut too. Finally, the car stopped in front of a hotel. He rolled down the window, tapping his fingers rhythmically on the glass. After sitting like that for a while, I really couldn't take it anymore. "What are we doing here?" He tilted his chin forward. I followed the direction. Wasn't that William Wang, my marriage partner? And there was another man beside him. William walked ahead looking impatient. The man trailed behind, desperately trying to keep up. I turned away, finding nothing worth watching. Then he shoved a stack of photos into my hand. Inside were all pictures of William Wang, entangled ambiguously with that man. I knew it. If Evan Lin doesn't make me miserable for a day, he can't sleep peacefully either. His joy seems built entirely on my suffering. See, you marry him, but he has someone else on the side. I don't care. Let him play with whoever he wants. Though I wasn't looking at him, I could feel his gaze burning into me. Evan Lin's presence is too strong. That kind of pressure makes it impossible for me to meet his eyes. Every time I'm the one who loses. I'm not going to invite that discomfort. Feeling his stare, about to burn a hole through me, my scalp went numb. So I continued explaining. My goal is to get Grandpa's inheritance money, then move out. Everything else doesn't matter. Then why does it have to be him? He pressed. It wasn't my choice. My parents decided. They gave birth to me, raised me. I'll obey them this once and marry. Consider the debt paid. From then on, I'll never return to that house. I'll find a place to hide, and no one will ever bother me again. After hearing me, he took a deep breath, said nothing, started the car and drove off. Halfway home, he suddenly said casually, "How about you just marry me instead? I have to get married anyway, and I promise I won't fool around." Of course, he doesn't fool around. His only hobby is tormenting me. Only during those few years, when he was busy with university abroad, did I finally escape his demonic claws. Marrying him for real would be like jumping into a trap myself, right? Besides, living in his house, I'd have to live with my tail between my legs, wouldn't I? No way. I believe in myself. One day I'll meet someone who truly loves me. As for William Wang, he can play however he likes. After some time, I'll just find a chance to divorce him, I answered. Then I really can't reach that high. I always felt Evan Lin was deliberately teasing me. In the past, when we were together, he had hinted more than once. Sometimes, he'd lean in extremely close without warning. Sometimes he'd try to hold my hand. I always dodged. Fortunately, though our families are unequal, we grew up in the same compound, so we had some childhood connection. He didn't dare go too far. I also know, in high school he once wrote me a love letter. It wasn't signed, but I knew perfectly well it was from him. That day after school, walking home, I rummaged in my bag for money to buy KFC, and pulled out that letter. I skimmed a few lines and tore it to pieces on the spot, threw it straight into a roadside trash can, and at that moment, his car was quietly following behind me. From then on, he tormented me even worse. Sometimes in that cruelty, there was a teeth-gnashing hatred. I both fear and hate him. But deep down I also hate this world. I've never shown that hatred, yet it has always been there. I have even entertained thoughts of destroying everything. Once wanted to light a fire and burn down the family I was about to marry into. Unfortunately, those thoughts stayed thoughts. In reality, I'm a coward through and through. Looks like Evan Lynn was determined to stick to me all day today. After lunch he dragged me to play golf, then horseback riding. The whole time I couldn't muster any spirit. In the evening, his friend invited him street racing. I've always hated that, felt something bad would happen. But he gave me no chance to refuse, forcibly pulled me into the car. The racetrack was packed, full of scantily clad girls everywhere. I looked especially out of place. Evan shoved me into the passenger seat. I wanted to get out. He used the old threat, "Jiang Bai, want to bet I'll kiss you right in front of all these people?" I wanted to cry from frustration, could only beg. "Then at least drive slower, okay? If I drive slow it's not racing anymore." He acted fearless. I was completely helpless. The roar of the engine hurt my ears. I clung desperately to anything I could grab. The car shot forward like an arrow. My stomach churned violently. I swore I'd never hang out with Evan Lynn again. The car took a sharp turn, yet he still had the mood to talk. Bringing up that topic again, "Jiang Bai, how about you marry me?" I was too scared to even breathe. In the past, he loved doing this too. For example, when I sat behind him on his bicycle, he'd force me to swear. I'd pick up his calls immediately, reply to texts right away. If I stayed silent, he'd threaten, "If you don't agree we'll both fly off this slope together." Sometimes I feel that at our core Evan Lynn and I are the same kind of person, both hiding an urge to destroy everything. The only difference is I only dare think it, while he dares to do it. Before I could think of a reply, the car lost control and crashed into the mountainside. Luckily, it hit the mountain, not the guardrail beside it. Otherwise we'd both have been thrown out. I looked at his blood-covered face in horror, trembling as I asked, You wanted to drag me down with you?" He just gave me a faint glance, countered, "What do you think?" An ambulance took us to the hospital. I only had a mild concussion, while he went straight into the ICU. Those few days, all sorts of people came to visit me in shifts. William Wong came too. He put on a deeply affectionate act, but I knew perfectly well. He kept a young guy on the side. He tried to hold my hand. I felt a little dirty, so I instinctively pulled away. Fortunately, I never had feelings for him. We were barely acquaintances. When the room was finally empty, he softly coaxed, "Little Bai, don't go racing with Evan anymore. It's too dangerous. Look how hurt you are now. My parents would be heartbroken if they knew." I gave an indifferent He busied himself peeling fruit for me. I said coldly, "That day, I saw you coming out of a hotel with a man." His hands froze, but his face stayed calm. "That was an ex-boyfriend. When our families discussed the marriage, I already cut him off completely. You really didn't have to break up because of me." Hearing that, his expression turned to disbelief, mixed with touched emotion. "Little Bai, you're so understanding." I ignored his being moved, cut indirectly. "After we marry, we live separately, separate houses. No problem with that, right?" He frowned. "How could that work? My parents are waiting to hold their grandson." He continued, "Don't worry. Once you give birth, my family absolutely won't let you suffer. My older sister gets 8-figure rewards each time she has a child." Hearing him say that, my brows knitted too. He refused separate living, so I no longer wanted this wedding. But if we don't marry, my money is gone. This problem tormented me for 2 whole days. My health had improved enough to walk around. Evan Lynn had woken up, but his eyes could see nothing. His hospital room was crowded black with visitors. The doctor explained, "It might be optic nerve compression." He stayed a few more days. I visited several times. His eyes were wrapped in gauze, yet strangely, every time I approached, he could accurately hear my footsteps. His parents now glared at me, extremely displeased, feeling his accident was all my fault. After all, I was in the car with him. As for Evan himself, he wore a cold face all day, not saying a word. That was normal. If I suddenly went blind, my face would be darker than the bottom of a pot. I couldn't help saying, "See, I told you not to race. You didn't listen." The impatience on his face grew. He snapped, "Jiang Bai, you think because I can't move right now, you can gloat? I leaned down, studied the bandaged eyes closely. My gaze drifted lower, to his straight nose bridge, and those thin red lips. I said, I'm not gloating. Now, everyone thinks I'm the one who harmed you, but you were clearly driving. God knows what crazy thing possessed you. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly. You'll find out soon enough. Daring to speak to me like that, there's a price to pay. Then he reached out and grabbed me. Are you kidding? When he was fine, I couldn't beat him. Now that he's half crippled, I still let him catch me? I immediately stepped back, but he precisely seized my wrist. A strong pull yanked me forward. Hey, blind bastard, let go. In panic, I bent down and bit his hand. He used the other to pinch my cheeks. I struggled wildly and hit him. Right at that moment, his mother's shocked and angry voice rang out. What on earth are you two doing? Little Bai, Evan is injured right now. How can you bully him? It's nothing, Mom, we're just playing. Evan Lin said it so lightly. My face flushed crimson with embarrassment. I could only glare at him, then turned and fled. After returning home, I immediately changed his contact name in my phone to Blind Evan. This name is perfect. For all the years he tormented me, now he's finally getting retribution. Even heaven is helping me vent. I felt incredibly satisfied, so I started visiting him much more often. My parents were naturally delighted. His parents, though they gave me the cold face every time, seemed to have grown numb. The more they disliked me, the more I called Evan Lin, Blind Evan. I peeled an apple while calling, Blind Evan. Want some apple? When I brought the slice to his mouth, just as he opened to bite, I pulled it away. Blind Evan. I'd rather throw it out than let you eat. Every sentence to him had to include those two words, Blind Evan. Blind Evan, I came to visit. Blind Evan, how are you feeling today? Blind Evan. Spring is here. Too bad you can't see it. Blind Evan, if you're so great, come hit me. I'm standing right in front of you. Blind Evan is angry? Aren't you so capable? Come teach me manners then. Many times I felt I was being awful. The man can't see, yet I kept poking at his sore spot. But I just couldn't stop, because if I were the blind one, he would be even more perverted, tormenting me tenfold. After he was discharged, I visited his house less. Truth is, I was scared of his family. The day before my engagement party with William Wong, Evan Lin actually came to my house with his parents. In front of his parents, I didn't dare act out, could only politely ask Evan Lin, feeling any better? He smiled at me, and inwardly, I rolled my eyes hard. They talked with my parents. I was about to sneak upstairs, when I was told to take Evan for a walk. I said I'd take him strolling. Evan walked very slowly, his white cane tapping the floor to feel the way. But I deliberately tried to trick him, let him experience the helplessness and isolation of a blind person. So I led him straight toward the staircase. We had just reached the top of the stairs, when we overheard the adults talking. The content was terrifyingly simple. His mother said, now that Evan can't see, little Bai bears some responsibility. His father added, we're not trying to blame anyone, but Evan needs care, and he's at marriageable age. His mother continued, Evan and little Bai grew up together. The marriage talks with the Wong family haven't been announced yet. Why not let little Bai marry Evan instead? After all, if they hadn't gone racing, this wouldn't have happened. I stared at them in shock. My parents were already grinning ear to ear, thinking they'd hooked a bigger tree to lean on. I wanted to sink into the floor. At that moment, Evan turned his head toward me. The corner of his mouth lifted, whispered in my ear, surprise? My back went ice cold, but the panic lasted only a second, because I never wanted to marry William Wang though Evan loves bullying me. Now, he's blind. From now on, it'll be my turn to torment him for life. Moreover, my parents would never give me another choice. And so it was settled. We skipped the engagement ceremony altogether, set the wedding for 1 month later. The next day we got the marriage certificate. The third day, Grandpa's marriage settlement money was fully transferred to my account, cash, properties, and shops. I was over the moon. I immediately moved into one of the apartments Grandpa left me. My parents frowned at the sight. Mom said, have we ever treated you badly? You're about to be married, yet you rush to move out like this. What will outsiders think of our family? Dad scolded. You ungrateful white-eyed wolf, you never think about this family at all. Do you hate us that much? My little sister chimed in, bro, why do you always have to make Mom and Dad unhappy? But I didn't react at all. Let the movers take every single one of my things, not leaving even a sock behind. Evan also had opinions about me moving out. He asked, why not move straight in with me? My parents already prepared the newlywed house for us. Just the two of us. We don't have to live with them. Because I never again want to be a guest who lives off others. When I was little, my parents wanted a precious daughter, but found out they'd had a boy. So they dumped me in the countryside with relatives. Every day, either farm work, or eating their leftovers. Back then, I hated eating noodles, because there was almost no seasoning, practically inedible. Once the relatives gave me a bowl of plain noodles, I really couldn't swallow it. They said food must not be wasted, forced me to eat that same bowl for 3 days straight. Only when I started middle school, did they finally bring me back. My sister is 5 years younger. After I returned, she always felt I was here to steal our parents from her, so she hid me every day. Whenever parents appeared, she'd burst into tears. I endured for a while. Later, I discovered my parents would never love me more for my endurance. So whenever she hit me, I slapped her right back. I remember the worst time. I slapped her so hard, she rolled all the way down the stairs. I thought I'd be scared, but Dad slapped me twice, making my nose bleed from the nose. Mom rushed in and beat me too, yet my heart was strangely calm. I even ran away from home for 2 days. Only when they reluctantly went to the police station did they bring me back. Actually, when I grew up I understood. One side the son they didn't raise, gloomy all day. The other, their long-awaited sweet daughter, who grew up beside them, knew how to act cute. Which side the scale would tip, even an idiot could guess. So whether at my parents' house, or the relatives in the countryside, or at Evan Lynn's house, none of them is my home. I admit I don't want to work for others, struggle to support myself, live the miserable life of renting. I just want Grandpa's money, even though I know he left it to force me into this marriage. But I'm taking that money. Why the hell shouldn't I? It took me 2 busy days to finish moving. I absolutely refused to move in with Evan Lynn, but during the day I still went to see him. He was currently living with his parents. Every time I had to take him out for a walk, his mother was very unhappy about it, saying his eyes hadn't adapted yet. Why do you keep taking him outside? At those times Evan would speak up, Mom, I want fresh air too. Then I'd lead him walking down the street. He tapped his cane while asking, Jong Bai, trying to murder me? I snorted, and kept leading him straight into a tree. Yet every time he reached out just in time to feel the obstacle, then asked me, what kind of guiding is this? Who's actually blind, me or you? Sometimes I really suspected he was faking, because I never once succeeded in pranking him, but his blind act looked utterly convincing. William Wong even came looking for me, saying he truly liked me. That since Evan was now blind, there was no need for me to marry a blind man. I told him to go tell Evan himself. He happily ran off. Watching his retreating back, I spat on the ground. Not a single decent one among them. At his parents' insistence, I still brought a few clothes, and moved into the newlywed house with him. He said, treating this place like a hotel? I huffed. You're a blind man now. Better keep your tail tucked and behave, or I'll really teach you a lesson. He raised a brow. How will you teach me? Starve me. He said he didn't like strangers in the house, so the maid only came to cook and clean, then left. Most of the time in this huge house it was just us two. My favorite activity was taking him for walks. Watching a blind man like him walk was simply too entertaining. He'd tap his cane constantly to feel the way. I asked, if you're blind forever, what then? What can I do? Cling to you? Make you take care of me forever? I curled my lip in a smirk. Then I'll bring lovers home, cuckold you, and you won't even notice. One of his hands precisely found my neck. I jumped, hurriedly waved my hand in front of his eyes. No reaction. If that day ever comes, I'll strangle you with my own hands, Jiang Bai. After dinner he said he wanted to shower. Then go shower. I replied indifferently. I want you to help me. You shower at your parents the same way. The environment here is unfamiliar, so annoying. I had to support him into the bathroom, showed him where everything was, handed him the showerhead, ready to leave. He yanked me back. Why so shy? We're married. Who's shy? I'm just too lazy to serve you. Shower yourself. Jiang Bai, how old are you? I'm blind now, can only rely on you. If you don't help, do you have a conscience? I saw not a shred of self-respect in him. Aren't blind people supposed to desperately prove they can manage? Yet he acted crippled in both arms and legs. When he took off his jacket revealing his upper body, I stared for a moment, satisfied. I scoffed disdainfully. Then he stripped completely naked, not giving me any time to prepare. I glared. Who said you could strip? Put your clothes back on. Do I wear clothes to shower? Try showering and let me see. Even if you do, I can't see. Blind Evan. He changed tone. Then you strip too. We shower together. Anyway, I can't see. Dream on. I finally understood. He was doing it on purpose. I walked out through the glass door, waited for him to finish, then handed him a towel. I have to admit, Blind Evan's body is really drool-worthy. I helped him out. In the middle of the night he suddenly called me. As soon as I picked up, he said, "Hubby, come help your wife. I need the bathroom." Fuming, I crawled out of bed, went to his room. After he was done, I took him back to bed. He clung to my hand, refusing to let go. "You're too much. We're newlyweds. How can you leave me alone in my room?" I couldn't pull free, so I scratched him with my other hand. As if he predicted it, he instantly twisted both my arms behind my back. He used to do taekwondo. I squirmed desperately. He pinned me down. "Relax. Blind like this, what can I do to you? But since we're married, shouldn't we cultivate some feelings?" I panted and cursed. "Tomorrow I'll starve you, and lock you in this room. Not let you out. I'll buy iron chains to chain you up. Just you wait." Damn blind jerk. Blind and still so restless. He laughed right above my head. "Then tonight I definitely can't let you go." He locked his legs around mine, hugged me so tight I couldn't move. I felt his warm body, heard my own heartbeat loud and clear. He deliberately teased me. I cursed hatefully. "Pervert, you really like me a lot, huh, hubby?" Fine, let's sleep. From now on we sleep in the same bed. We're husband and wife after all. I was about to curse again when he blocked my mouth. Our lips met. For at least half a minute, we said nothing. Before he only used this to threaten me, saying if I didn't obey, he'd kiss me, but never did it. Now I see the saying is true. The dog that bites doesn't bark. I was stunned for a long time. "If you talk like that again, I'll take it as you asking for a kiss." I huffed angrily. I never imagined kissing felt like this, soft and a little warm. The next morning when I woke, Blind Evan was still holding me. I pushed him hard. "Blind Evan. Still sleeping? Get up." His mood seemed excellent. "Good morning, hubby." "Don't call me hubby." I pushed him again. "Hubby." I shoved him away, rolled out of bed, said angrily, "A guy like you, even blind, you're still annoying." I helped him wash up, then went downstairs to eat, only to see his mother sitting there. I quietly warned him, "Your mom is here." He turned toward empty air and called, "Mom." I followed. "Mom." His mother said, "Today we're taking him for a checkup." While we ate breakfast, her eyes kept scanning us. I hurriedly stuffed another bun into Evan's hand. His mother immediately said, "He doesn't like buns. Feed him some porridge." "Yes, Mom." I took a bite of the bun myself, then fed Blind Evan porridge. His mother, sitting beside, kept nagging. I asked Dr. Shu. He said this kind of blindness shouldn't have happened. Even if it did, it should have recovered by now. I really don't understand why he still can't see. "Little Bai, you just fed it into his nose." I looked down, too busy listening. I'd been careless. I felt like such a klutz. His mother kept insisting we move back to the main house, saying it would be easier for her to care for him. But Blind Evan insisted. We wanted our world of two. The doctors couldn't find the cause for his eyes, just prescribed some medicine, and we went home. For a while after, we basically stayed holed up in the newlywed house. When bored, I painted in the studio. He listened to audiobooks in the study. If he needed anything, he called me. At meals I had to feed him, but I always chose the foods he hated most: carrots, greens, fatty meat, etc. Yet sometimes I felt sorry for him, so I'd feed him something tasty too. At night, he insisted on sharing the bed, to cultivate feelings. I thought, since he was blind, the threat was much smaller. Besides, we were married. We should have a child eventually. I was quite curious about that part, so not many days after sleeping together, we very quickly rolled in the sheets. 2 weeks passed. One day I went out for lunch with university friends. One friend had a sudden family emergency, so we finished early. I got home and didn't see Blind Evan in the study or bedroom. Those were his two most familiar places. If he wasn't there, maybe his mom picked him up. I was about to call, when I turned and saw his phone still in the room. Since losing his sight, he kept his phone on him at all times, to call for help if needed. My heart skipped a beat. What if he fell somewhere and hit his head? I rushed out of the room to search if he'd fainted in some corner. Then I looked up and vaguely saw a figure on the third floor. I frowned. The cleaning lady should have left long ago. I grabbed a baseball bat, tiptoed upstairs. And guess what I saw? The room on the third floor that was always locked stood wide open. I stepped lighter, peeked inside. The lights were blazing. Blind Evan stood with hands behind his back, leisurely admiring the photos on the wall. Those eyes looked nothing like a blind man's. My brain buzzed as if exploding. He had absolutely been playing me. I recalled our recent days together. No wonder. Every time I tried leading him into a tree or a ditch, he always avoided it. I thought it was just instinct. And at night when we slept, he insisted on turning off all lights. Yet his movements were smooth and skilled, not a trace of blindness. Completely practiced. He especially loved making me feed him, bathe him. But that anger was instantly extinguished, because my gaze followed his across the wall. My whole body froze. The wall was covered, densely packed with photos of me. Not just stolen shots from middle and high school, even university ones. Clearly all secretly taken. Many made me look incredibly stupid. I was so scared I barely dared breathe. Evan Lynn. Is he actually a complete psycho? Before I only hated him, always forcing me to do stupid things with him, wasting my time. At least I thought he was normal, just a bit unhinged. But now it seems his illness is far from mild. My back kept getting cold waves. God knows what perverted hobbies he has, like being a serial killer, making specimens from human skin, or drilling holes in heads to eat brains. My legs shook uncontrollably. At that moment, Evan finished admiring a large recent photo, obviously taken while I slept. Ironclad proof he was faking blindness. He even murmured softly, "Baby, finally, you're mine." I relied on sheer willpower to not collapse on the floor, trying to control my body, slowly, silently turning around, preparing to slip away, no matter where. First get out of here. My mind was in chaos, suddenly realizing why Evan refused live-in help, refused to live with his parents. Only us two in this house. If one day he felt like butchering me, I wouldn't even have anyone to cry for help. His terrifying nature hadn't changed at all. Using this bitter ploy of fake blindness to lower my guard, just to lure me into his trap. He really would do anything. I was trying to move slowly, hadn't even turned halfway, when he suddenly spun around, eyes locking right on mine. Those eyes deep and terrifying, caught red-handed, yet his face showed not a ripple. I held my breath, body stiff. I could only watch him walk toward me, step by step, each step like stomping on my heart. My back pressed flat against the wall, and Evan Lynn, who can see, still terrifies me just as much. I can't outrun or outfight him anyway. I stared at him warily. He spoke lightly. I just realized I can see again. He stared at me. I swallowed hard with difficulty, nodded, showing that I'd heard him. His warm hand stroked my cheek. It felt like being wrapped by a venomous snake. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Wife, you seem a little tense. A little scared, too. You saw the photos in that room, didn't you?" If circumstances allowed, I would have pretended to stay blind right then and there. For now, I could only play dumb. "I just came up and saw you seemed cured." It startled me. "What's in there? Should I go take a look?" He kept staring at me like that. I swallowed again. "You were blind. I said some harsh things before. I'm only nervous because I'm afraid you'll get revenge. You wouldn't be that petty, right?" "Of course not." He suddenly laughed. One arm spun me around. The other slammed the door shut with a bang and locked it. He took my hand and led me forward. "I already told you, we're husband and wife now. I love you too much to do anything else." My whole body went stiff, but I still forced out, "Your eyes are better. We have to tell uncle and aunt soon." He just kept holding my hand, talking on the phone while studying me. I didn't dare act out in front of him anymore. The smile on my face frozen solid. In this house, there were only the two of us, and that filled me with absolute terror. Then, his mother on the other end told us to come over for dinner. It felt like a pardon from the emperor. Exactly like those ghost movies I watched as a kid. Demons never harm people in crowded places. If you want to survive, never go off alone. When we stepped out of the villa, even the air felt fresher. This time he drove. Before, whenever we went out, I was always the one driving. I sat in the passenger seat, calculating what to do next. If Evan and I hadn't already married, and I discovered he was this crazy, I could have run away, and no one could say a word. But now we're legally husband and wife. He has the right, the justification. No matter where I fled, he could come find me perfectly openly. This man is truly sinister to the extreme, and seeing how he's been secretly photographing me for years, whatever obsession he has with me, is definitely not a recent thing. Whatever, I'll find a chance to escape first. I can't go back to my parents' house, but staying at his place is absolutely out of the question. I never wanted anything to do with these people again anyway. Maybe I can still get away now. At his parents' house, there were quite a few relatives, all crowding around him like he was a gorilla in a zoo. He kept that same calm expression, perfectly composed, a faint smile at the corner of his lips, saying this time, it was all thanks to little Bai taking care of him. If not for me, he wouldn't have recovered so fast. Every word sounded loaded to me. Others thought I'd cared for him wonderfully. Only I knew the truth. He only recovered because I caught him, and he couldn't keep up the act. After dinner he said, "Wife, let's go home." My heart clenched. I looked at him. "You only just got better. Why don't we stay at your parents' tonight?" His mother beamed at that. Yes. The house feels empty without you two. If little Bai got pregnant, I could help take care of everything." The moment she mentioned pregnancy, I suddenly remembered. We've been doing it lately, without any protection. At first, I thought Evan was blind. He probably couldn't pull anything, so having a kid was fine. But now that I knew how seriously unhinged he was, I regretted to death not using contraception. After eating, I lingered in the living room, refusing to go upstairs. Only when everyone finally left, did he raise a brow at me. "Since when do you like soap operas?" "Just now." I kept my eyes glued to the trashy drama on TV, not turning my head. "You go sleep first. I'll come up later." He didn't leave, just sat there with me. We watched from 9 at night until 2 in the morning. We even ended up watching a horror movie, making me even more terrified. I never expected him to have that much patience, just sitting beside me waiting. Finally, he couldn't stay awake, stood up and went to his room. I immediately stared nervously at the bedroom door. It was too late to run now, and if he caught me, he'd definitely drag me back. I decided to sleep on the sofa for the night, slip away tomorrow after he left for work. I'd only just lain down when I fell asleep. In a half-dream state, I felt him cover me with a blanket, and it seemed like he was about to carry me. I jolted awake. "What are you doing?" "Nothing. Just putting a blanket on you." "Still watching?" I shot upright and forced my eyes wide at the TV. My whole body felt rigid. I told myself, he probably wouldn't dare do anything here. After all, this was his parents' house. That thought let me fall asleep again quickly. When I woke the next day, I was lying in Evan Lin's bed, but he was nowhere to be seen. I hurriedly locked the door from the inside, searched his entire room, looking for anything suspicious. I found nothing. The guy hides things too well. When I went downstairs, his mother's attitude toward me was extremely warm. She kept asking if I slept well, thanking me for taking care of Evan. I probed. "Auntie, has Evan ever seen a psychiatrist before?" She looked at me suspiciously. Then her face turned cold. "He's perfectly healthy. Why would he need that? You're married now, talk more maturely. Stop playing around with him all the time." Looks like I wouldn't get anything out of her. I asked where Evan went. She said he went to hang out with friends. Evan had instructed that we'd only return to work after the wedding, and after the ceremony we'd go on a honeymoon. Just thinking about it made me shudder. I quickly made an excuse, fled his house, and went straight back to my own apartment. I dragged out a suitcase, stuffed in all my IDs, grabbed a few changes of clothes, called a car and headed to the airport. I bought the first ticket south, planning to take a taxi after landing, find some resort town and hide for a few months before deciding. Luckily, my job is online illustration. I can work anywhere. Too bad I hadn't even warmed my hands on Grandpa's money yet. Whatever, staying alive is more important. I rushed downstairs, booked the ride on my phone. The moment I opened the door, Evan was leaning against the fence, smiling with his eyes curved. "Wife, finished packing? Where are you off to?" I froze on the spot. The next second I tried to slam the door, but he was faster, blocked it with one hand and slipped inside. I gripped my phone tightly, secretly dialing 110 behind my back. My mouth said, "What do you want?" That's my line. Packing a suitcase and buying plane tickets. Don't tell me you're planning to disappear right before the wedding? For a moment, I didn't know whether to demand how he knew I bought tickets, or lie and say I hadn't. He stared at me, snatched my phone, and ended the connecting 110 call. Terrified, I screamed, Evan Lynn. If we have issues, we can talk. After all, we grew up together. My voice cracked, tears threatening. He looked at me, dead serious. Then come home with me right now. He picked up my suitcase and pulled me back to his place. On the way, I stared out the window. How about we stay at your parents' instead? They only have you as a son. They'll be lonely without you. He glanced at me. We'll move back after we have kids. Permanently, if you want. My heart wailed in despair. He still wants kids with me? Isn't he planning to kill me? But who can predict a lunatic's mind? Back home, he asked. You won't run again, right? I pretended to be calm. Of course not. Sigh. Why would I run? I'm not sick. But inside I was scared to death. Because he stopped going out too, just kept me home making babies. I didn't dare provoke him in the slightest. While he was showering, I slipped a sleeping pill into his mouth. It was an old bottle I'd bought for myself, probably expired. He came out, glanced at me, drank the whole glass. I waited until he was sound asleep, then crept down to the garage to take the car. This time I took nothing. But when I drove to the main gate, the iron gate was locked from the outside. It definitely hadn't been when we came in. Can't you just behave? A low voice came from behind. I turned and saw Evan Lynn. He frowned, eyes dark as he stared at me. In the strong night wind, everything around us pitch black and silent. Even sleeping pills couldn't knock him out. He was terrifying beyond words. Aren't you tired? I just wanted some fresh air. Without another word, he forcibly dragged me back inside. Then he pulled out handcuffs and ankle chains and locked me up. My eyes widened in shock. He asked, You saw the photos in that room, didn't you? Baby? What? What photos? What room? Still playing dumb with me. My voice shook. Are you in the mood for kinky games right now? But can you at least unlock the ankle chain? It's hard to walk like this. He gritted his teeth, dragged me straight up to the 3rd floor. Everyone knows. Once the villain stops pretending in movies, the protagonist starts getting tortured. I immediately struggled backward with all my strength, but he just kept pulling. I could only hug his thigh. Hubby, I was wrong. I swear I won't run again. Really, please don't kill me. Whatever you say from now on, I'll obey. I swear. Really. Why is my life so miserable? Out of the wolf's den straight into the tiger's. He crouched down, smiled at me, so cowardly. When I was pretending to be blind, you were bold enough to walk all over me. Where'd that courage go? Look at you now. Scared to death, he still dragged me upstairs, pushed me into that room. The lights flicked on. The walls full of my photos appeared again. It gave me trypophobia-level dread, my scalp tingling nonstop. I felt, sooner or later, he'd turn me into a specimen and hang me there. I hesitated before asking, Since when have you been this perverted? He chuckled softly, pinched my cheek. Since the day I met you. He pressed against me, whispered in my ear. If you hadn't discovered this room, if you weren't so good at plotting to escape, I wouldn't have needed to lock you up. Be good, baby. We already got the certificate. The wedding is soon. Haha, you're the one who did wrong. And when you planned to run, wasn't that wrong too? My newlywed husband had imprisoned me. I truly couldn't believe it. He confiscated everything I could use to contact the outside world. The main gate stayed dead bolted. When he was home, my hands and feet were free. But the moment he left, the ankle chain went on. He blamed me for not being honest, saying, Our wedding must not have a single flaw. The day we took wedding photos, he watched me the entire time, not giving me any chance to escape. He hadn't turned me into a specimen yet, but I guessed it was coming. Even when I went to the bathroom, he stood guard outside the door. If I didn't know his mind was broken, with how we were glued together every day, I might have actually developed feelings for him. I didn't dare resist at all, terrified he'd really kill me. My childhood instinct had been right all along. Evan Lynn is terrifying. That's why I always wanted to stay far away, yet in the end I couldn't escape. On the wedding day, I fantasized, during the vows, I'd gather all my courage and shout I don't. Then under the guests' shocked gazes, run straight out of the venue. But reality was, seeing the flowers, silk, and white ribbons fluttering around, a wave of sorrow rose in my chest, as if I were attending my own funeral. Nothing left to cling to, since I was already here, and couldn't run. I might as well behave. Evan had promised. If I was good, he wouldn't chain me anymore. Being good simply meant obediently being his husband. Evan's eyes grew moist instead, probably moved that his scheme had succeeded. finally tricking me into his cage, to do with as he pleased. I wore a face of total resignation. Let him put the ring on me, then put the ring on him. He looked at me, whispered, "Hubby, cheer up a little, we're married now." Side story. The first time Evan Lin met Jiang Bai was at his little sister's birthday party. Jiang Bai was like part of the wallpaper, hiding in a corner. No one noticed, looking every bit the outsider in the Jiang family. They attended the same middle school. Evan had run into him a few times on the road. He was always walking alone. The kids in the compound often played together during holidays, but Jiang Bai never joined. Yet once, Evan saw him feeding stray cats by the roadside. He walked over and asked, "Wanna play with us?" Jiang Bai completely ignored him, treated him like air. That made Evan furious. In this compound, which kid didn't want to be friends with him? And the guy was just plain rude. After school started, Evan saw him cornered by some older boys demanding money. He was about to rush in and help, but Jiang Bai took on all three, fast as lightning, beat them senseless, then ran off faster than a rabbit. Evan hurried after him. It took forever to grab the strap of his backpack, and the moment he did, Jiang Bai spun around and punched. The corner of Evan's mouth split, and the puncher's own knuckles hurt like hell. Evan hissed in pain. "Friendly fire much?" Jiang Bai clearly froze. "Why are you following me?" Even he couldn't explain why. He just wanted to hang out, or see what the guy was actually doing. In the end, he ran to buy cotton swabs and alcohol, came back and cleaned the blood from Jiang Bai's mouth. Evan said, "From now on, go to school with me. No one will dare bully you again." Most kids in the compound had drivers. Only Jiang Bai walked. He didn't like crowds, barely spoke, so he was an easy target. But Jiang Bai refused. He stuffed the cotton and alcohol back at Evan, turned and left. Evan chased again. "That's not the way home. Where are you going?" Jiang Bai bought a lunchbox, sat down and ate. Evan followed. The two sat in a convenience store, eating cheap hot meals while watching people pass outside the window. After a while, Jiang Bai zoned out. Evan couldn't figure out what he was thinking. Finished eating, Jiang Bai slung on his backpack and started wandering the streets. Truly aimless strolling. They got out at 5:30 p.m. He could wander until 8. Finally, he entered a cafe, dumped his bag on the table, pulled out homework and finished it before going home. A truly magical after-school routine. From then on, Evan often followed him. Wherever Jiang Bai went. He discovered Jiang Bai really knew how to enjoy life, knew how to wander malls. When tired, found a dessert shop to do homework. Sometimes tried a good restaurant. Occasionally hit the arcade, played everything. Of course, Evan couldn't tail him every day, or his parents would kill him. His family was strict. He also asked around about the Jiang family. There were no secrets in the compound anyway. He followed once every few days. About 2 months later, Jiang Bai stood staring at a poster of steamed fish, milky white broth, fish looking incredibly fresh. He swallowed away. Hard. Evan asked, "Got money?" Looked at him, face a little shy. First time, he answered when Evan spoke first. "Yeah." So they went in and ate until stuffed. Afterward, Jiang Bai gave him a shy smile. "I'll pay you back next month." Definitely. He used to get pocket money, but it wasn't enough for daily cakes, milk tea, and eating out. Plus, he refused to stay home on weekends, that sash, so expenses were huge. But after his sister hit him, he pushed her down the stairs in anger, then ran away for 2 days. His parents lost face, decided he was evil, and cut off his allowance completely. He could eat breakfast at home, lunch at school, but after school, he refused to go home, preferring to wander hungry. Evan had money, and often paid for him. Jiang Bai probably felt owing a favor, and that's when he finally agreed to hang out. Jiang Bai quickly joined Evan's group in the compound, though most of the time, he stayed wallpaper. At least he counted as part of the gang. Until one day, the boys were bragging, asking who had the hottest girl, who they secretly liked, gossiping about which guy liked which girl. Typical newly teenage stuff. Jiang Bai just listened from the side. Many boys said they liked Evan Lin, because he was the prettiest, in an admiring way. Plus, his family was powerful, future prospects limitless. These kids understood a bit about careers. In children's eyes, that kind of aura mattered a lot. Jiang Bai listened. Then they started saying, Evan liked a very handsome boy from the next class. The two always gave speeches together for the school. any competition the school sent both of them. After they finished, the group turned to Jiang-bai, grilling him on who he liked, wouldn't let him say no one, or they'd flip. It was basically truth. Jiang-bai mentally ran through the girls in class, finally named one who, like him, was quiet. He remembered her being kind. Once when it was his turn to clean, he forgot to wipe the blackboard. She did it for him. He only noticed after class started, then paid attention, and confirmed it was her. He figured she was the safest. No one had ever mentioned liking her. But everyone got super excited, kept asking why. He said he liked quiet people. That sentence eventually reached Evan's ears, and the girls. The girl even prepared a gift, came to confess to Jiang-bai. Jiang-bai freaked out, stammered and rejected her. And Evan was furious. Like his sincere feelings had been fed to a dog. Was the guy blind? Rage boiled inside him. Evan ignored Jiang-bai for a long time. Jiang-bai went hungry again for a while. He didn't understand why Evan suddenly went cold, but he was used to it. Used to disappointment. Used to his parents' affection disappearing. Used to no one caring or loving him. So he was colder than anyone. If you don't expect, you won't be let down. Instead, his parents couldn't stand it first, asked, "Aren't you and Evan really close? Why hasn't he come to play lately?" He answered coldly, "No idea," because they asked. He secretly hoped Evan would stay away, let his parents be disappointed, a tiny revenge against them. After a while, Evan came looking again like a madman, and his attitude was terrible. He dragged Jiang-bai out whenever he felt like it. Jiang-bai wanted to wander alone. He loved that free feeling, but Evan completely ignored his wishes. At first, Jiang-bai resisted, even bit him, then bolted. But his 2 legs couldn't outrun cars and bodyguards. Every time he was hauled into the car, the more he struggled. Evan threatened, "Keep making trouble, and I'll kiss you." Believe it? He could only glare in fury. Evan even blocked him at home. If he refused to go, he'd yell and tell Evan to get lost. His parents immediately scolded him for being rude. How could he talk like that? Then Evan could smoothly take him out. His parents, wanting him to stay on Evan's good side, started giving him allowance again, double this time. Before, when Evan was with him, they just followed Jiang-bai's wandering, occasionally chatting. He even felt like a wandering hero. But after Evan's personality shifted, he stopped indulging. Instead dragged Jiang-bai to things he liked, all stuff girls enjoyed. And often Jiang-bai was the only boy. He genuinely despised Evan. He heard boys badmouthing him behind his back, calling him sissy, fag. And many times he was just decoration, standing beside Evan waiting. He thought Evan was insane. He could even feel Evan hiding a grudge against him. So when it was just the 2 of them, it was like a tyrant abducting a civilian girl. Always a struggle, until Jiang-bai unwillingly followed. Evan somehow got a Leica camera, started photographing Jiang-bai, insisting he model. Jiang-bai could only reluctantly cooperate. If you said their relationship was bad, they spent nearly all free time together. If you said it was good, Jiang-bai was constantly annoyed by Evan's tyranny, wouldn't let him say no to anything. Habits are terrifying. Gradually, Jiang-bai himself knew he couldn't refuse Evan anymore. At the same time as Evan grew up, his aura changed. When those eyes fixed on Jiang-bai, he vaguely felt this wasn't the same person he met at the start. Those eyes were especially dark, like a bottomless black pond. One more second and your soul would be sucked in, drowned forever. Then, something happened. The Lin family rose another level. Jiang-bai wasn't clueless. Living in that world only made him fear power more. Evan became quieter when talking to Jiang-bai. Often spoke one word at a time. Jiang-bai couldn't beat him, couldn't outrun him, disobey, and Evan threatened forced kissing. The worst time was in the car. Evan asked who sent that love letter. Jiang-bai muttered rebelliously, "None of your business." Evan laughed through his anger. He told the driver to get out first, then gripped Jiang-bai's chin hard, hissing, "Wanna bet I can't control you?" Not long before, Jiang-bai had, right in front of him, torn a love letter to shreds, thrown it in the trash. At the time, he felt a thrill of revenge. He knew Evan's car was following. Sure enough, Evan, self-abuser, gripped his arm even harder. Sometimes Jiang-bai was truly scared of this unclear, tangled relationship. And this time, he deliberately left the love letter in his bag, let Evan see, deliberately provoking him. Evan pinned him into the corner of the car, face so close he could feel his breath. Jiang Bai was nervous and terrified. Goosebumps all over. He swallowed. Don't. Evan Lin, let me go. His voice shook until it was barely sound. Evan gritted his teeth by his ear. Will you agree? He frantically shook his head, meaning no to the letter, relationship. Evan sneered. Then who do you like? Don't know. Light as air. He lowered his voice. What do I do? I'm feeling really bad right now, so I have to make you feel bad too. At first, Jiang Bai didn't get what bad meant, thought it was emotional discomfort. He was wondering how to help, then quickly realized he was wrong. He never imagined Evan could be that shameless. His whole body froze, not daring to move, while Evan was completely at ease, in total control. Evan's breathing grew heavy, the feeling incredibly strange. He felt he was being tortured to insanity. Evan whispered in his ear. Jiang Bai, if you ever date anyone else, I'll kill you. He could only shut his eyes tight and shake his head frantically, promising he'd never be with anyone else. From that incident on, he decided Evan Lin was a complete lunatic pervert. Another reason he couldn't win was that Jiang Bai still cared about face, while Evan had thrown shame away long ago. He was unbeatable. How could he touch him there? Jiang Bai was both confused and terrified, afraid Evan would really do that to him. People always fear the unknown most. He even had nightmares. In the dream, he angered Evan. And right in that car, Evan grabbed huge scissors, mercilessly cut it off. He was so scared, he cried nonstop in the dream, regretting everything. Why didn't he just obey from the start? He thought if he'd been good, it wouldn't have ended so horribly. When they reached university, the days Jiang Bai was controlled by Evan finally paused. Evan went abroad to study. Jiang Bai started ignoring his messages. He returned to his old life, wandering everywhere after class. One day, he stumbled upon an art class, signed up on his own. After all, his family had never enrolled him in any extracurriculars. Evan, far away overseas, felt everything slipping from his grasp. He flipped through all the photos he'd taken of him, even printed them, covered an entire room. He missed the ferocity when Jiang Bai bit him, missed the wronged look when forced to submit. In the end he realized, the thing he missed least was the very beginning, when they walked side by side like strangers. No ripples at all. How could that be enough? He had to leave a deep mark in Jiang Bai's life. Even hatred was 1,000 times better than being strangers. He feared Jiang Bai dating someone back home, hired private detectives to secretly photograph him, found he was still the same, which relieved him. Every time he came back, he'd seek him out. They kept their drawn bow hostility, always clashing. He even reserved a room in the villa under his name, just to hang Jiang Bai's photos. Looking at those dense photos, he wondered how this could satisfy him so. Perhaps it was a kind of collecting, gathering Jiang Bai at every age, treating them as trophies. Until he heard Jiang Bai was about to marry someone else. He knew begging was useless. If he begged, Jiang Bai would only push further, mock him mercilessly, not pity him, just make the pain worse. He wanted to perish together. How could Jiang Bai be so heartless? They grew up together, so many years. Even if they couldn't stand each other, there should be some feeling. He jerked the steering wheel, swerving the car back from the cliff edge, crashing into the opposite mountain wall. No matter what, he had to marry him. Married life for Jiang Bai was lived in constant fear. At first, Evan controlled him tightly, even took him to work. The ring on his finger couldn't be removed, it had a tracker inside. To outsiders they were madly in love, but Jiang Bai knew it was just Evan's possessiveness at work. He, Jiang Bai, was afraid Evan would find a chance to kill him. Yet Evan never showed killing intent, instead treated him quite well. Before, when Jiang Bai got sick, he toughed it out alone, never went to hospital, just slept under blankets. Now, Evan panicked, rushed him to the hospital, cooked porridge with his own hands, fed him spoon by spoon. That day he couldn't help thinking, if only Evan had been there during that high fever in college, he'd been delirious. Still dragged himself to the hospital, got an IV for hours, hot then cold, starving, far worse than now. Evan also talked to him in a very normal tone, about what gifts to give which family for holidays, who sent what to give back, or his parents planning a trip they had to come to. Sometimes, he'd share juicy family gossip, all ordinary daily life, full of human warmth. Jiang Bai had little experience with that. He'd always lived in his own mental world. His parents basically ignored him, let him run wild. So his real-life experience was pitifully small. All of this felt quite new. Evan didn't want to strain things either, often coaxed him. During intimacy he'd gently call him hubby, act cute and spoiled. Or he finally stopped staring like he wanted to kill him. Often came to pick him up from work, bought little gifts. Jeong-bai found a librarian job. They went home together after work. Evan would gently ask if he was tired. In short, as long as old matters weren't mentioned, Evan was absolutely a perfect wife. But every time Jeong-bai still found Haim horrifying. This gentleness wasn't even as good as his old anger. At least that was straightforward. It felt like the Last Supper before execution, making him always on 12-point alert, trembling as he coped. They'd been married over a year. Still no movement in the belly. No idea why. Then Evan had to go abroad for work a while. Before leaving, Evan looked at him deeply. Hubby, free? Will you be good? Jeong-bai still didn't dare meet his eyes, quickly glanced away. Mouth said, why do I have to be good? I'm not a kid. He kissed him, said, wait for me like a good boy. Jeong-bai immediately moved to his in-laws. He always felt their own house had a creepy ghostly air, unbearable when empty. The moment Evan left, he fled to his in-laws. Mother-in-law took out an expensive watch, told Haim to wear it. He looked down at the ring on his finger, muttered, but this won't come off. She glanced. If you want it off, I'll call someone. His eyes went round in shock. Then the ring really came off. After it was done, he said a bit panicked, he wanted to go out for a walk, got in his car. Only then did he realize he was driving aimlessly, his mind still debating whether to leave or not. That day, he drove through every alley in Jin City, until night fell completely, then drove back. His in-laws were waiting dinner for him. Seeing him return they said, called you and you didn't pick up. If you hadn't come, we'd have eaten without you. He smiled awkwardly, sat down and ate with them. He suddenly remembered at his parents' house, he'd never had a proper family dinner. Even when everyone was home, he'd rather starve, or grab snacks to his room. Never joined them. After marrying Evan, the two always ate dinner together, either at home, or out, people said. He had those smiling peach blossom eyes. They also occasionally visited his in-laws, Evan's parents. At first, the two elders were extremely unhappy with this joke of a marriage. If Evan hadn't suddenly gone blind for a while, they would never have agreed. But later his in-laws became especially caring toward Haim, often bought him gifts, asked if Evan was bullying him. Every time he visited, the table was full of his favorite dishes. Mother-in-law picked food for him. He quietly lifted his bowl, using eating to hide, but tears still fell uncontrollably. Jeong-bai was asleep in the middle of the night. When the bedroom door was pushed open from outside, he jolted awake, thinking he'd seen a ghost. It was Evan, covered in travel dust, exhausted, back early. He just stood blankly by the bed, staring at him without blinking. That gaze felt like oceans and mountains separated them. Jeong-bai rubbed sleepy eyes, asked, why are you back already? Evan lunged forward, hugged him tight, almost squeezed the breath out of Haim. A terrifying thought flashed. Is he going to strangle me, and make me into a specimen? He felt his neck grow wet, wanted to see what was wrong with Evan. But Evan held so tight he couldn't move. Then Evan kissed him wildly, more intense than ever before. They held each other tight, and slept until morning. Evan slipped out again before his parents woke, flew back abroad. 2 weeks later, he returned for good. 2 months after that, Jeong-bai was pregnant.